Good evening and welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all of you. Let's begin just with this gentle remembering. Why am I here on the path? What am I looking for? And so I ask you, are you here to experience the truth? Are you here to experience spiritual freedom? Are you here to heal and release the past? Are you here to let go of that which is old and dead and interested in opening to a new life? Well, if that's the case, you're in the right place. You're in the right place. And so I welcome you. Yeah. It's so good to have you. And so let's shut down our eyes and begin just with this gentle practice of directly experiencing that which is true. And I'm going to invite us just to feel into this energy of truth, this perspective of truth. And so we're not engaging with the ego. The ego thinks it has the truth, but often the ego has a bunch of judgments and opinions and beliefs. And so we're giving ourselves permission to let go of this. To let go of a self-centered way of being. And this Christmas season, let us give ourselves the gift of awakening. Waking up to the beauty and the innocence, the innate goodness of your heart, of your fundamental essence. And if you're sensitive, you may notice this wonderful gentleness in the field. And this gentleness, it begins to arise as we come closer to Christmas. It's here, of course, all year round, but it tends to intensify this time of year. And so let us remember, let us acknowledge, let us reawaken if we've gotten a little lost. And so if you feel almost like right under your heart, not all the way down in the solar plexus, but just right under the heart, you may notice this foundational realm of humility. And so we're opening to this humility. We're opening as humility. And we're smiling at the beauty of our being. The innocence and the purity of the indwelling Christ. And so the Christ has this sweet tenderness mixed with a little bit of heat and fire. It's an energy of innocence and purity. And so together as a Sangha, let us recognize this. That there is something so noble and pure about your being. For we are God's children. We come from God and are made of God. And so again, let us smile. Let us smile. And see this sweetness, experience this sweetness. And so throughout this evening, this day, this week, this life, let us together open to the supreme light, the supreme love and compassion of the indwelling Christ. Let us give ourselves the gift of love, the gift of compassion, the gift of clarity of knowing who and what you are. And so we'll just take another minute or so to soften throughout the body and to begin to feel this experience of the Christ waking up. The bottoms of your feet, your calves, your shins, your knees, your legs, the pelvis and the root. The hara, the solar plexus, radiating with divinity, the seat of the heart. Feeling the Christ in your throat, in your speech, in your silence, in both the emptiness and the brilliance of your mind, flooded with the Christ, showing up as the Christ. And of course, the crown is open, and as we open the crown more fully, we notice, oh, look, more grace is coming into this room, into this space, blessing each of us. And as we humbly open and allow ourselves to be conduits of grace, this heavenly grace blesses the world. Yeah. So smiling and laughing, sometimes crying. We let it all flow. We let it flow. And so I welcome you to Satsang. I welcome you here. And so you can gently open your eyes if you like, or keep them shut if you want to stay in a meditative state. But I'm going to invite you to give yourself a gift and to give this world a gift this holiday season. That sounds kind of like a commercial, huh? This holiday season. The gift I want you to give yourself is during the holidays. The holidays can be so chaotic. You know, for some of us, going home and visiting family and this and that. You know, I've had just a lot of family over all day, and my mother's come to stay and visit with us, which is, wonderful. But sometimes when you're in a small house, or you have lots of relatives coming over and this and that, well, there just can be a lot of chaos. And others of us who are on the other end of the spectrum, where we're not going home and we might have a little bit of the Lonely Hearts Club. You know, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I'm sure we all have. But I want us to give ourselves this fundamental gift. So whatever day of the week it is, whatever is happening in the outer reality, I want you to take some time just to be with yourself. To be with yourself in the Christ. In this energy, this presence, this aspect of your true nature, which we call Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is this recognition that all of life is a giant, unified field. A field of love, a field of peace, where you see this world radiating with light. The way Jesus spoke about it is he called it the kingdom of heaven. And it's hard to see the kingdom of heaven if we're rushing here, if we're fighting with mom or dad. And you don't understand me. You don't understand me. Or wishing them, wanting them to be different. And so over the course of the holidays, spend some time in silence. Spend some time outside. If it's freezing out there, spend some time in your car. Here in Colorado, it's been it's been so warm. We've been out riding our bikes and just having all kinds of fun, and almost getting a sunburn. But if you're cold, you might sit in your car or sit in the quietude of your room, or you might look at the church schedule and see if there's a time when the church is just open for prayer. Or bundle up and put on a lot of jackets and go outside and go for a walk in the woods. And see this beauty. This radiance, this fundamental aliveness everywhere. I used to have an old friend. She was a roommate, and she would, every year, she'd give herself the gift of going to, she'd go to India, she'd go to Tiruvannamalai, that's where the Ramana Maharshi ashram is. Yogi Ram Surat Kumar. He has an ashram right across the street. There's Mount Arunachala and these beautiful temples. But anyway, she would tell me that like the whole town, whole city just lights up with the energy of the Christ. And she would go year after year, and she said it's such a special time to be in India. And it's something I'd never thought of. I was like, I'd never thought about going to India for Christmas. But she would give herself this gift. And it was such a blessing. Such a blessing. And she, just this old friend, she had a child and lost her little baby when the baby was, just quite young. And so, sometimes when your family's been broken up or there's been death or heartache or whatever it is, it's a wonderful time of year to connect, to fall in love with Jesus, to fall in love with Mary, to fall in love with the Buddha, to fall in love with the glistening stars in the night sky, to fall in love and to experience this divine communion. But in the modern age, we're always reaching for those phones and filling up every minute. But I invite you to walk out into the night, to the mystery of the darkness. And what? Right here at the solstice, it's like, the days get dark at 5:15 or maybe 4:30. We're depending on where you're at. In the world. If you're in Sweden, it might be dark at 3 p.m. But to journey out into the darkness and connect with the mystery of God, the mystery of the unknown, allowing your heart, your mind to be empty and free. Empty and free. And so as we work with this, where you are opening to you, you are awakening to you, you are communing with the divine, you find yourself living in a way that is silent and so radically different than the rest of this world. So many people at this time, they're just racing to Christmas parties and staying out drinking and getting into all kinds of trouble and this and that, or shopping, like crazy. But for us on the path, we're interested in matters of the heart. We're giving ourselves this gift of supreme love and compassion. And so I want you to be with your family and friends and enjoy yourselves, of course. Go sit on Santa's lap. I've already seen Santa like 4 times this year. And, it's gotten a little bit silly. I have people in my house who are just, they're in the Christmas spirit is what I'll say. They just love it all and decorate like crazy. And, we've been going to all kinds of, activities at the church and this and that. And so enjoy it. But I want you to give yourself this gift of awakening the heart, of being in love with life. It's a lot different than being Scrooge or the Grinch. And so I ask this of you, for you to love you, for you to open to you. And sometimes it means I need to just put down all the nonsense. And so the second gift I'm going to ask you to give is the gift of love to others. This gift of compassion, this gift of forgiveness. And many of you were at the community meeting this last Friday. And there was a teaching there about being impersonal. And so I'd like to speak just a little bit more about that. And so let's have some fun. I want us just to take on a persona. Let's all just imagine, just for fun, that we're all in a cult together. I, of course, am the cult leader. So we'll all be in the cult together, and I'll be the cult leader. And you know what happens when you go home, for Christmas, and when you're in a cult? Your family's like, you're in a cult. There's something wrong with you. We need to, like a real funny thing that my dad used to do, because my parents, they thought I was in a cult, but they met my teacher a couple different times. They knew it wasn't a cult, but they knew, we were doing something that was really intense and deep, and, it made him a little nervous. But, so again, let's just imagine we're on a cult. And when you go home to your tribe, like your family often will question you, and they'll wonder what you're doing, and they'll have all kinds of judgments about you, and they might tell you how you should live your life differently. And I'm going to encourage all of us to teach them that we are awake. And I don't want you to do it with words. I don't want you to go home and to mom and dad say, I am the awakened one. I am a part of the fully human, fully divine cult, and we are all awakened beings, and we drank the Kool-Aid, and the rest of you should drink the Kool-Aid. We're not going to do that, because that's an ego game. I want you to imagine you go home to mom and dad, and it doesn't have to be this holiday. It can be at any time when you see them. And they're doing the tribal dance. They're trying to hook you and bait you in, to your childhood reactivity. Your brothers and sisters are treating you like you're that young 14-year-old kid, or whatever it is. And we're going to show them something different. We're going to show them that we can listen, that we can hear what they say without reaction, without judgment, without a knee-jerk psychological response. And so your parents look at you and they say, Danny, you're in a cult. We need to have a talk. And you say, okay, let's talk. And you just sit and listen. You sit and you listen. And you hear them. And we don't argue. We smile. And tell them, thank you. Thank you for your concern. Thank you for caring about me. Thank you for your opinion. Sometimes we go home and our parents have different politics than us, and we just listen to them talk about how Donald Trump is the greatest president who's ever lived, or, Chuck Schumer is the greatest whatever, or whoever it is. We just listen to them talk. And we listen like the Buddha, we listen like Christ, and we don't argue. We smile, we nod, we say, I hear you, I hear that. All right. You love Trump, you love Biden, you love Kamala, you love whoever it is. You just smile. You're telling me I'm wrong. Okay. And we smile from a place of being impersonal. We're not taking it personally. We live in the awakened state and we don't take it personally. We say, okay, thank you. Thank you for enthusiastically sharing your opinions of me with me. I've done that with people before. It really confuses them. They look at me, they're like, what? Wait, what did you just say? It's like, thank you for enthusiastically sharing with me the opinions you have of me. It kind of makes them think. And to say it from a place of love, like true love, true compassion, knowing that these people who are talking to us, these people being our family, they care. They care deeply. And they may have a different perspective. If we're awake, I assume they have a different perspective. And they'll have a perspective of self-centeredness, or, I don't know what you call this. Like when, there's egocentricity, but then there's family centricity. It's like where you love and honor your family first, and you project everything onto them. That's, often what we do with egos, egocentric. We just take our personal perspective and project it on everything. And so when you go home for the holidays, you see, oh yes, my family, each and every one of them is egocentric. My old friends, each and every one of them is egocentric. And if we're going to be the ones who are awake, we're not joining them in taking everything personally. We're stepping way back. And they say, why are you wearing that silly scarf? Why are you doing that? Why do you have those prayer beads? Why do you wear that silly beanie on top of your head all the time? Are you bald? Are you going bald? Is that what's happening? Because your family, they'll point these things out to you. Have you gained weight? Have you lost weight? You need to eat more. I think you've had too much to eat. Would you like another cookie? You look like you shouldn't have any more cookies. And in our family, they'll say these things. So my father, I was beginning to say this. It's so funny listening to me talk, and y'all have to forgive me, because sometimes I'll start a sentence and then something else will come and I'll get lost. You know what my father tried to get me to do? My whole life, starting at about the age of 14, my father would put a drink in my hand. He was always trying to get me to drink, constantly. And it was hilarious. Like when I'd come home for Christmas and I'd be like, Dad, I don't drink. Like, how many times do I have to tell you this? And my dad would be like, well, like, you got a girlfriend out there? What's your deal? I was like, Dad, I'm celibate. It like really confused him. It was like the more I talked and shared my spiritual values and what I was doing in life, more and more he got confused. And so he would open a beer can and just push it in my direction, or he'd pour me a drink. And I just like, Dad, I don't drink. Some people, like when I was in high school, kids were so jealous of me because, like, if I used to have parties at my house all the time in high school, and the kids would come over and we'd drink and get in all kinds of trouble and this and that, and it's like a big, a big shindig. We'd have a lot of fun. But as we grow in the spiritual path, we don't join the world in confusion. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying you should or should not drink. I'm not offering that as a teaching. What I'm offering as a teaching is that we stay in the truth. We stay in the truth. And in this case, I'm inviting us to respond to our family with a total patience, where you are fully honoring your values, you fully honor your truth, but we're not taking what they say personally. We're not demanding that they are different. We see life as it is. We see it as it is. We see the person who's speaking to us, she is suffering. And so if we're being judged, we don't say, oh, how dare you? The awakened one just notices this. Oh, judgment is arising. And the reason our mother or father or sister or brother judge us is because they're confused. It's because they're hurting. It's because they are concerned about us from a place of, egocentricity, from a place of their own viewpoint. And this is a great skill to have. I can remember And forgive me, I know many of you have heard this story, but I went home. I went home one year. It wasn't for Christmas. It was like springtime, and I was just going home and visiting the family. And whenever I'd go home when I was young, I always needed money because I was always broke. And my dad, my mom had all kinds of jobs for me that I could do and just earn a little money just working for them. And so, I'd paint like their whole house and, this type of thing, or put up shelving or build something for them or whatever it was. Or, do some plumbing work because I'm really good with my hands. So I just know how to do everything literally from digging a foundation to putting paint on the walls. Everything in between. I know how to do it. And so I'd go home, and when I was young, my whole life, I had this wound with my father. My father was just constantly riding me, just telling me what to do. And my father had a sense like, if you're busy working, you are of value. And the way I experienced it was, if I'm working, I'm loved. If I'm not working, I'm not loved. And so that was my childhood experience. And of course, after years and years of that, I developed a wound around it. And so, I moved out to Colorado. I met my teacher, and I did my work with my wound. And I did my work, for many years. And at one point, I went home. And my father was kind of ordering me around, telling me to do this and do that and do it this way. And every other time I'd went home in the past and had worked for him, like my blood would start to boil, or I could only take so much. I'd have to take a bunch of breaks because it's like, he's driving me crazy, this kind of thing. And I can remember one year I went home and he was kind of ordering me around and directing me. And there was this great impersonal awakening that just said, okay. And I had some fun with it. It was almost like, okay, boss. Okay, boss. And that's how I was with my teachers. My teacher would do the same thing. I mean, he was my boss, so he would just order me around and tell me all these things to do and give me these big lists of things to handle and take care of. And I was always like, yes, okay. And I was so happy to serve my teacher. And because I'd done my healing work, because there was no wound there, it was very easy to meet my father effortlessly. And I want you to hear that, effortlessly. There was no effort. It was just like, sure, Dad, okay, all right, let's do it. And by let's do it, it was Craig's going to do it. There was no let's, it was just me. But it was like, okay, all right, I got this. I will. Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you. And I saw, oh, this is what it means to be awake in a family where I'm not being, triggered by everything that everyone says. Not getting my feelings hurt. I'm not offended. This modern age, I mean, my God, the last 6 years, it seems like everyone in the Western world is so offended about everything. And there's a lot to be offended about, but there's a different way to live. A different way to live. Where we see life from Christ consciousness, we see life from Buddha nature, and we see, oh, these people who are attacking me or judging me or ordering me around or wanting me to be different than how I am, they are suffering. And when you look out at life from a perspective that's impersonal, you see this, you see, oh my God, everyone is suffering. They're suffering so much, so greatly. That's why they act the way they do. That's why they treat me like this. And in a sense, I don't even like that word me. Is you see, they don't treat just me like this. They treat everyone like this. They treat themselves like this. You ever hung out with a really judgmental person? you start to feel like their attacks and their judgments, their criticism. Sometimes they do that micromanaging game. They're just like, just micromanaging. I worked with so many people who had, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I'm just going to say, I've worked with so many Jewish guys who had these moms and grandmas who were just like super micromanaging. And I don't know what it was, and then the Italian moms could be like, just like loud and wild, and you have these new moms who are just like helicopter parents and they're just all up in your business all the time. Whatever kind of mom we have. And I always asked, those individuals, like, how do you think your mom feels inside if she's judging her son so much all day long? Do you know she's judging herself and treating herself that way? And that just kind of spins the anxiety. It amplifies it. Makes just like leads to so much anxiousness. Who's the movie guy? Woody Allen. I've met with so many Woody Allens. My path, I don't know what it is, but I've met with a lot of Woody Allens, in sessions. And, they're kind of anxious. And they start telling me about their mom. And sometimes I've even met their moms. And I'm like, oh, my Lord, that's a really anxious lady. That's a really anxious lady there. She's really suffering. And they say, what? And I said, she's really suffering. She's really suffering. And they say, oh, no, like I'm suffering, Craig. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're suffering. But your mom's really suffering. That's why she treats you this way. Like my father, he was really suffering. I mean, he was an orphan. And that's why he drank so much. And he alleviated some of his suffering through drinking. And he continued his suffering through drinking. And then he projected that onto me. He's like, you should drink, Craig. You should drink. Not many people are going to give you that advice. But my father, he's like, have a drink. Like, have a drink. Have a drink. And it was funny, too, because I would have friends who would come over. I'd have friends, like my house, like, we knew about, being orphaned in my house. And so my house was the house where I always had friends who were moving in with me, because their parents, their parents weren't around, or their parents had disappeared, or their parents died, or whatever it was. So I always had people living in my house as a kid, friends of mine and my brothers. But anyways, I would have friends who would come over and they would drink with my father. My father would be so happy, so happy to have someone to drink with. And there I was, busy being spiritual and impersonal and, not drinking. But, sometimes like that was the thing to do. Sometimes that's the thing to do, is to meet someone in their suffering and say, okay, I'll join you on this. Now, I'm not going to encourage that as a lifestyle because, then we get sucked deep into the mud. But Zen Master Kwong, he used to speak about that as he had someone show up on one of his retreats. And this fella was, just like a smoker. And Kwong had quit smoking. But he saw this one individual on the retreat who was going outside on the breaks, in between meditations. And he was smoking and he was standing out there by himself. And so Kwong went out there and joined him. From a place of love, and shared a cigarette with him. And again, I don't want anyone to take that the wrong way as an excuse for the ego to have its way or for old addictions to arise. But this sense of impersonality, sometimes it will show up in being really patient. Sometimes it can show up in a compassionate sense of listening. And other times you might see that your sister or your mom is really lonely and they want someone, just to go shopping with. And you go along for the ride. And you listen to mom, you hear her, you honor her, while she nags and complains about you, or complains about your father, or whoever it is. Whoever it is. And so this holiday season, can you be the light? Can you give the world the gift of hearing them, of seeing them, of including them, of letting them talk, and not correcting them, allowing them to be as they are. Allowing them to be as they are. And if they say something to you that's offensive, from a place of nobility, can you simply hear it and see that they are suffering? I'm not asking you to take it in. I'm not asking you to absorb it. I'm not asking you to be in toxic relationships and this and that. I'm asking you to be in relationship with the Christ, for you to know the Christ as your heart, and to offer this gift of forgiveness. Offer this gift of compassion. You know, the old joke is, just because I'm a father, like, what do you get a father? You get him a tie, It's like you get him some stupid little, cheeky golf game that he can play in his office, or this or that. I don't know how to tie a tie, so don't nobody get me a tie, because I don't wear ties. I don't know how to tie one. I've lived out here like a cowboy for too long, so I don't know about those things. But what your father really wants, what your mother really wants, is for you to see them. Now, you may want mom and dad, sister and brother, your old best friend, or whoever it is, to see you fully and to recognize your divinity. But let me help you out real quick. 90% chance, maybe 95% chance, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to see you as the second coming. They're not going to see you as the Buddha that you are. They're not going to see you as a goddess. And if they do, that is absolutely amazing. And you hit the jackpot there. That's incredible. It's a beautiful thing to be seen and to be honored. But this holiday season, the first gift was you seeing you loving you knowing who and what you are. And if you forget that, you're going to spend some time in silence. You're going to spend some time alone. And you're going to reconnect. You're going to wake up out of the dream. And when you wake up out of the dream and you walk around in the world, you'll see, oh my God, they're all sleepwalking. They're all sleepwalking. Like those world leaders, they're sleepwalking. The people who run the big corporations and this and that, they're sleepwalking. Mom and dad sleepwalking, sister, brother sleepwalking. And so when someone's sleepwalking, I'll say this, it's a funny thing. My mom was a sleepwalker. I haven't really talked about this before, but as a kid, like my mom would get up in the middle of the night and she'd just be screaming these things. And I was a little boy and I'd kind of like climb down out of my bunk bed and I'd say, hey, mom. 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 It's okay, Mom. Like, it's okay. And I kind of, wake her up a little bit and like, hey, just go back to bed, Mom. And she'd be like, oh, geez, like, wow, what was going on there? What was going on? And when you're awake, you see that. You see people just get lost in their dreams. They get lost in their confusion. They get lost in judgment. They get lost in their politics. They get lost in their religions. Their dogma. They get lost in gossip. They get lost in drink and drug. They get lost in sugar cookies. They get lost in... it's still football season, right? Like people are playing football. Yeah, like they're watching football and that kind of thing on the TV. They get lost in games. And as the awakened one, as the spiritually mature one, and maybe it happens in this Sangha, like someone in the Sangha says something offensive, or they don't see you fully, they don't honor you fully, they don't respect your Buddha nature. They say, oh, Taylor acts this way because he's so damn arrogant. He thinks he knows everything. They say things like this to us and we're like, oh, shit, damn. And we say, oh, I forgive them. They don't know me. They don't know my heart. They don't know what I am. They say, Craig's a fool. He talks in circles. I say, it's okay. Forgive them, Lord. I forgive you. I forgive you if you judge me, if you find me boring. My dad used to tell me as a kid I was so full of crap that my eyes were brown, and so I'm used to it. I'm used to it. You can say it to me. You can say it to me. And I might react. Give it back to you. But in tonight's teaching, the invitation is to not react, just to hear it. And let it be like water rolling off a duck's back. I can remember, speaking to Adya about this once, and he said, almost everyone on the spiritual path, they tend to be awake in the front. They tend to be open in the front. But he said they forget to be open in the back as well. So when someone says something nasty to you, it comes in the front door and it goes out the back door. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a good teaching. Because the way I learned is you're just open in the front and you take it in. And it just adds to your low self-esteem, and that's how I walked the path for many years. It's just kept piling on, adding to my low self-esteem that I had. It's like, geez, why did they say that? It hurts so bad. It's not fair. They don't know me. They don't understand me. But part of being awake is you have that back door open. You don't let things stick to you. I'd like to say you're like Teflon, but I'm too much of a hippie. I'm fully against Teflon. I'm going to tell you, if you got those pans, throw them in the garbage. Only eat in cast iron pans, nothing else. Cast iron, stainless steel. Now, anyways, but I'm a freak. I'm afraid of chemicals. I'm afraid of anything, that's not natural. But anyways, I'm going to stay on topic here. We are being impersonal. But the thing I don't like about the teachings on impersonalness is they tend to lack love. With Christ consciousness, impersonalness looks like, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they're saying. They have no idea. And so there's many of us here in the Sangha. I've worked with y'all who've had a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a partner, who cheated on you, who broke your heart, who ran off with your best friend. And that hurt. It hurt. And for many years we took it so personally. But when we step way back and we see your heart is so good, your heart is so beautiful, your heart is so divine. And when we have someone close to us who treated us like we're old dirty laundry, it's because they're lost in pain. It's because they are suffering greatly. It's not because there's anything wrong with us. And when we take things personally, we give our power away. We let the people around us, we let samsara define us. But as we step back and we rest in our inherent divinity, it comes with this feeling, this transmission of, I'm good. I'm good. What's here is innately good. And I see this. Now, a lot of people could take this as arrogance, but it's actually a form of supreme humility. To know what you are. In order to know what you are, you have to know God. When you know God, you know what you are. This is a quality of divinity. A quality of great humility. Is you know that your heart is made of love. Is made of light. Is made of radiance. And when you know this, you see everyone's heart is made of radiance. And if someone comes to you with nastiness, or just their normal psychological projected confusion, you see, oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for them. I'm sorry for them. Like I have had so many comments on the YouTube videos from fundamentalist Christians saying I'm going to burn in hell in some different way, And I'm like, gosh, I'm sorry you're suffering so much. I'm sorry I don't say that to them. I say it out loud, but, I don't type back like, I'm sorry you're suffering so much. It's like, God bless them. I hope one day they can have a relationship with the Christ like I have. God, will you be with them and help them to step out of the disease of fundamentalism? Can you help them wake up, Lord? Can you be with them? And so when we don't take things personally, one, you see that everyone around you is suffering. Two, you see that they all have good hearts, but they're just disconnected from their hearts. And three, you might start praying for people who kick sand in your eyes. And so this Christmas season, let us be the Christ. Let us be the love in this world. Let us respond with forgiveness and compassion. Let us take this impersonal stance when we're with our family, and let's teach them that this cult that we're all in together, it's a really good cult. It's a really good cult. And our parents will say, wow, they're really listening to me. I think they're going to become that businessman that I wanted them to become. We'll let them think that. We'll let them think that. Wow, Dad, thank you. Thank you for the input, Dad. That's a great idea. I'm not sure I'll do it. But that's a great idea for somebody. For somebody, Dad. Maybe I will be a banker like you in a different lifetime. In a different lifetime. Or maybe not. Maybe not. And so I want you to see if you can do this and have a little fun with it. Have a little fun with it. The teaching my teacher David used to say is like, when your parents say something crazy to you, you should do this or you should do that. Or someone says something shocking, they make fun of you. He said, you say, wow. Wow. I was like, wow, that's how you respond? He's like, yeah, you just say, wow. Wow. It's like, what does wow mean? Like, who even knows? Who even knows? But it means wow. Wow. It's just like, yeah, I'm hearing you. Wow. All right. You're thinking that. Okay. All right. I hear you. Wow. That's an idea. Donald Trump's the best president ever. Wow. Donald Trump's the worst president ever. Wow. J.D. Vance believes in conspiracies. Wow. The UFOs are among us. Wow. You say wow and you smile. You smile. You smile. You smile. On the topic of UFOs, just because I brought it up, I was just at an alien UFO crash site in Aztec, New Mexico yesterday. I spent the day there. If you're all wondering what I was doing, I had just an incredible time. There's a big mountain bike track around it, and so we were riding the trails, and then we went to a bunch of people made these shrines, and eventually I'll upload some drone footage for y'all to see. But a little plaque there where the U.S. Air Force and the Army were there for 2 weeks trying to get this 100-foot UFO saucer out of the desert and onto a road. So they had to build some roads and lay some concrete, and it was a whole ordeal. But anyways, I won't bore y'all with that. So does anyone here have a question or something they want to share or correct or bring forward? And if so, you can raise your hands, or you could put something in the chat below, and I'll just take a peek here and see if anything pops up. And in the meantime, I want you to envision yourself just standing. Now let's have ourselves seated at the dinner table with mom and dad, sister, brother, or our children, or whoever it is. And just gently imagining, they think that we're in a cult, gently imagining they have different political orientation than you, gently imagining they're judging you, your appearance, your size, your weight, your height, your whatever it is, your job, your vocation, your place in the world, your bank account. And from a place of peace, from a place of silence, inwardly, we say, wow, wow. They have a different idea than me. And wow, that's okay. That's okay. And we're giving this world this gift. A gift of peace. A gift of silence. A gift of harmony. The gift of listening. The gift of communion. Where our heart sees and recognizes their heart. Sees and recognizes their heart. Sees their divinity. Despite their projections, despite their wounds, despite their insecurity and heartache, we see their divinity. And if we respond from a place of unity. And so that response, it may be silence, it may be love, it may be forgiveness, it may be kindness. It may just be listening. And so we begin satsang with this recognition that you are divine. That you are divine. And we end satsang with the world is divine. And this compassion, they just don't know it just yet. They just don't know it just yet. They don't know it just yet. And so, happy holidays to all of you. So much love and respect to each of you. And again, I know I say this a lot, but truly thank you for sharing your hearts with me. Thank you for sharing your lives with me. Thank you for communing in the Christ. Because sometimes as we wake up alone, it can feel kind of isolating, and the human part of us begins to ache. It says, I want to be around some other spiritual people. And so I encourage you, each of you within the Sangha, reach out, say hi to a friend. If you got any struggles or any beef with anyone, forgive them. Let it go. Do your healing work on your own or with a professional. And what you'll find more and more is it's easy to give out this gift of forgiveness. It's easy. But when you're all tight and tense inside and taking yourself so personally, I could tell you to get over it. But if you can't get over it, get some help, get some support. I had lots of support on the path. Because there was a lot of things I tried to let go of and I couldn't. And I had to sit with someone who could hold space with me, or be in an inquiry group and see, okay. Sometimes I do inquiry with something I tripped over 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 times, and then, each time a little chunk of it would release. And then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, it's not there. It's not there. And so someone asked in Facebook world about the UFO crash site I was at. So I just want to read from the plaque real quick. If y'all, if y'all aren't into this, you can just step offline right now. But I just want to share this. It's called The Recovery at Heart Canyon. And let me show you. I'll just show you where I was at just to give you a sense of it. I don't know if I got a good picture of it. Out in the New Mexican desert is where I was. I'll post a picture. Anyways, here, I'll show you a picture of the big UFO head first. It's hard to see, but I think you can see it. But in the background there's a shrine. And here it goes. Recovery at Heart Canyon. Maybe y'all can just listen to me. This will be your gift to me. On or about this site, on March 25th, 1948, a spacecraft of origins unknown crashed or landed on this mesa. It is alleged the Los Alamos radar station in nearby El Vado, New Mexico, tracked the errant landing to this site. A high-security recovery operation led by the Air Force and the 5th Army Division was responsible for the removal of this craft. The recovery operation took approximately 2 weeks, with all remains being taken to Los Alamos laboratories for scientific study and evaluation by some of the world's leading scientists. Later, it was rumored to have been taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. I've been to Wright-Pat a bunch of times. I've been to Los Alamos as well. The recovery of this craft by the U.S. government and the military was one of the most secretive recoveries of spacecraft with origins unknown since the similar recoveries in Roswell, New Mexico 8 months earlier. The spacecraft was approximately 100 foot in diameter and 18 feet tall. Is one of the most intact crafts that the government had recovered at that time. Sadly, all occupants, as many as 16 beings, these are otherworldly beings, died as a result of this crash, making the full disclosure of both purpose and origin all but impossible. This plaque has been placed here to bring awareness to an event that has been kept secret for, at that point, is 59 years, but we're getting near 70 years now, and is a significant part of our nation's history. Anyways, they are among us. They are among us. Anyways, I could talk a lot about the Aztec, New Mexico crash, but oftentimes people ask, especially skeptics, like, why would a UFO crash? And there's this thing that happens, like in those days, we were testing a lot of nuclear weapons at that time. And there's something about, like, when we do these big tests, it does something to whatever happens in the all the dimensional realities that are co-occurring simultaneously, and sometimes we knock them out of the sky. We knock them out of like one dimension, and then all of a sudden they're crashing into the earth. And it's a sad thing. They don't like it when we test our nuclear weapons. I don't think any of us like it, and to me that's a good enough reason not to have nuclear weapons at all. We don't want to be messing up our space brothers. And anyways, so I'm just sharing a little bit of fun with you, just my passion. And I know I drive some of you all crazy speaking about this, but for me, I'm just going to go on just a little bit more here. I know I was trying to wrap it up, but I have to. This topic came up, like I was at Mass earlier tonight, and the priest goes on and on about the Immaculate Conception a lot this time of year. And I've heard a lot of good Christians. I've even met with priests and monks who, have this whole kind of, it's more of like a I can't talk. I can't even think of words. Sociological understanding of reality. And they're saying, no, it wasn't that, Jesus was born of a virgin mother. They obviously had, premarital sex, and the church wasn't big enough to honor that, or just to see that was a possibility. And I would push back around that. I'm not asking anyone to believe or not believe in the Immaculate Conception, but what I would like to acknowledge, Erin Morrissey brought this up to me. She said, Craig, a lot of spiritual people are really close-minded, and I about fell out of my seat when I heard that, because my projection onto spiritual people is that we are all so open-minded. So open-minded. And we know that if God can create whole universes, he can certainly create a baby, without without Josephine involved. And I know throughout India, Amma behind me, she's created numerous babies. She's gotten all kinds of people pregnant. I'll say it that way, which sounds crazy. She's gotten all kinds of people pregnant. One lady, she got pregnant, and the lady was pregnant for like 18 months. She had a gigantic baby. And the doctors would look at it and like do x-rays and what's the thing that you the ultrasound, and then looking inside the mom's belly, and there's just nothing there. And then one day, boom, a baby comes out. This is the thing that throughout history, there's been all kinds of immaculate conceptions. And I just invite us, just as spiritual beings, to let go of some of our scientific materialism and to live in this world of the miraculous. The miraculous. What you'll find is your consciousness will start to become much more loose and flexible. It won't be so rigid and dense. And you'll start to see the miracle of life everywhere. And when you look up at the night sky and you imagine, could there be aliens? Of course there are. Could there be extra-dimensional beings? Of course there are. Of course there are. Was Atlantis real? Of course it was. Was Noah's Ark real? Of course it was. And just to play with a fundamental sense of openness and allowing this world to be a divine world. Whereas in the modern age, so many of us, we bow out of rigidity to the God of scientific materialism, and it does nothing but shut down our mind. Sometimes it saves us from making a poor life choice. So, in defense of scientific materialism, sometimes it saves us from making a poor life choice. But on the spiritual path, I'll ask you, do you believe? And I invite that answer to be yes. What do we believe in? We believe in God and God's majesty and mystery showing up in the forms of countless beings. Whether we're talking about gnomes and fairies, or whether we're talking about extra-dimensional beings, whether we're talking about Lord Skanda, Lord Jesus, Mother Mary, Ganesh, Shiva, the land of the 10,000 Buddhas, it's all God. And God is constantly creating infinite life in all directions. And so I'll leave you all with that. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for sharing your hearts with me. I'll see you all next Sunday. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Wonderful Christmas. All right. Much love. Good night, everyone. Bye.